I grew up in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and Winona area from elementary school through high school. So I went to school in my hometown at the college. I actually joined as an undergraduate student the first week of school. The programming board there was called CAB, the Campus Activities Board. And I took on a variety of different leadership positions throughout that time there, from weekend events to large events, large speakers, things of that nature. And I decided to move into this realm of being an educator to students through the event planning process and helping them engage their campus community in meaningful opportunities to build the campus community. So knowing that was the path I was going on, I went to St. Cloud State and got my master's in college counseling and higher education management. So after some time there, I was able to connect with some of the folks here, and when this opportunity came up, they thought I'd be a good fit for it. So that's what landed me here 14 years ago. I have three wonderful children and a wonderful partner. I have three daughters. As they say, I'm a girl dad. They are 5, 8, and 11. I think the thing where the great fit at Mankato and me is I'm someone who looks to innovate, looks for new opportunities, looks to, I kind of live by the principle that you're always improving, always reflecting, and always moving forward. That really started during my drumming career. I'm a drummer. I've been drumming my entire life. It basically paid my way through college, drumming did. And with that, I went to a drum clinic where these big professional drummers came and drummed. And that drummer said, it was Neil Peart from Rush, for those who know who that is. And he said, every single time I see another drummer, whether they're just someone starting out, whether they're one of my colleagues, I always try to take something away from them. They might not be the best person in the world, but I'm always trying to take one little thing away that I can reflect on. I think that's something I've done off my entire career, and definitely here. But with that, what really made this marriage special here is this university truly does live its motto of big ideals, forward thinking, and inspired action. The folks here, the administration here, the management here, the students here, they embrace that type of innovation. So there's a lot of things that happen at this campus that wouldn't be possible anywhere else. And so coming here, I was empowered by my supervisors and encouraged to really do things that are different and interesting and memorable. And to that, there's the opportunity to do that, but doing that is actually very intentional from my previous role in student activities, where we know, because there are much smarter people than me who've researched this, if students feel connected, they feel like they're making memories, and they feel pride in their institution, they are more likely to graduate earlier, graduate with a higher GPA, and feel like they belong here. And so we've focused, when we're doing these intentional engagement activities, to make it memorable, focused on pride, and help them feel like they belong. And so I think a good example of that is Club Maverick. Students are moving into the residence halls. They get here, and when I arrived, they said, oh, there's a dance going on. Well, it was a DJ downstairs in the student union in a room. It was fun. People had a good time, but they went and danced and had fun. Well, when we had the opportunity to kind of reshape that, we wanted to turn it into Club Maverick and make it so that when people came here, they realized they were going to get a different experience, that they were going to look at something that they're not going to see anywhere else. And here's an example of what Club Maverick morphed into a little bit. Whether it's intentional lighting, getting them dancing. One of my favorite times is seeing them walk into the ballroom and everybody's face goes, whoa. And as much as it's fun and it's unique and it's different, it's intentional to try to make sure that they know that they belong here. And this is something that they're going to experience nowhere else. So that's a little bit of kind of how we do things. What I would say is listen to the students. They know what they want. They know what people want to engage in. You can provide ideas. Sometimes you kind of mold it together. But definitely they know what they want. But also, too, they don't know what they don't know. Sometimes you have to show them examples of what excellence looks like. Some of the big takeaways are any individual, whether it's student, staff, when they're motivated to do something, they're going to go above and beyond. If they're not really motivated to do it, they might complete it because it's part of their responsibility, but finding that passion point for them is probably the most important thing, because then they're going to be motivated to move forward and try to achieve excellence and what it looks like. If someone comes with something, you don't want to shoot it down right away. Let's talk about how we can make it work. It may not end up being exactly what the way they thought it would be, but we can get really close to doing that. And whether it's working with students, working with external clients, whatever that is, let's try to help them find that vision and use your experience and knowledge to guide them along the way. My master's degree was in student development, so understanding where people are, how can we help them develop into a high-functioning adult is really important, and taking a look at where they are, where they could be, and helping them grow in that respect, I think, is really important. I'll take student events team in a broader sense. I think the turning point for that group was in 2015, 2014, 2015. When I arrived, they were doing good things, they were being productive, but the constant message I kept hearing over the first 2 to 3 years was people don't understand who's putting this on, and they don't understand what it's about, and that the students who are attending don't know students are planning the events. And so at that time, I kept hearing this over and over and over again, and I said, you know what, I think it's time we need to look at what your brand is. It used to be called IMPACT, which stood for Innovative Memorable Programming Achieving Campus Togetherness, which is an acronym for a mission statement, not a brand. And so through a 1.5-year long process, working with a wide variety of students, some more opinionated than others, we went through a rebranding process, and that let them own their success. I always use the example when at orientation, you say, hey, this is the student events team, what do you think they do? They're like, oh, those are students planning events for students. I'm like, yep. And so that rebrand really let them own it more. They had a better sense that they were a part of the solution, that they were being valued. I think that was a big turning point. Yes, I've touched many lives throughout the year, and the interesting part about working in higher education is we put in a lot of time and effort into individuals, into students, but a lot of times the payoff doesn't come until they leave. And so anybody who's worked in higher education student affairs, they've got a little list, a little treasure trove of things. And these are just a few that I've kept from my time of working with students, where they're going to send you a note after the fact. They're going to send you something, a thank you. I've had I'm sorry I was so difficult on you letters, but I'm thinking I'm going to leave the individual's name out of it, but students come here with many different challenges. And a lot of the times, sometimes those challenges are family. And there's a specific individual who was going through some difficult things with their family. They were getting a lot of pressure from siblings to drop out of school, to help with home, help with mom, things of that nature. And spent a lot of time with that individual talking about where they should be. Is it time to really take a break? But they didn't really want to. And then, what does your mother want? She said, my mom doesn't want me to stop. I said, well, it's okay to take care of number one, you. This is your time. This is your life. There's only one person in this world that you can affect and take in control, and that's you. And that person decided to persist. Reached out to me after the fact and said if I had been there to help him along the process, he would have dropped out of school, never graduated. And then about 2 years later, wonderful thing about social media is I found out that he and his mother moved together to Florida with his partner. And they still live there. They kind of got away from some of the toxicity of the family and are thriving, which is, I think that's the one that stands out the most to me. But there's a lot of different examples like that too in my time here. Yeah, there's a lot. It's interesting because when I first started here, one of my mantras that I did not like, I was like, is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, you can always improve things, and sometimes things don't work. I'm just going to run through some of the traditions that I think are awesome that have come. Some are still around, some aren't, but they grew legs and they really took off. This one started in 2012 or 2013. It was a foam party. A student really wanted to do it. But at that time, there was a lot of negativity around foam parties. And were they safe? Are they not? And so it took a lot of politicking, a lot of conversations to prove that we can do it and do it right. And it happened for about 10 years, and students absolutely loved it. It grew from one foam machine to 4 and foam cannons and all kinds of stuff. And it's transitioned in more into a silent headphone disco nowadays, but I think that's one that I'm proud of. Obviously, the Sisu Hana takeover, again, was an idea from a student that was very audacious. And it's grown over the years and expanded to something that's people expect to go to. Other ones are the homecoming bonfire and fireworks. Again, a student had this big idea, and there were a lot of challenges getting that started, but with some persistence and collaboration with people around the university, it's come back. Something that was here that if you ask most students what their favorite event of the year is, 75% of them say homecoming lip sync. It's been around before my arrival, but it's kind of grown into something that's bigger than most things. And I'll outline some of that a little bit when we talk about technology. Other ones are the homecoming parade has been fantastic. This is the homecoming concert, another idea from a student that has really grown into something amazing. This is from 2015. Country artist Jared Neiman and I forget the name of the opener, but he's big now. Here's again the bonfire. Price is Right. This is one of my favorites. This individual right here is actually a student. His name is Alex Arndt, or he was a student here. He and his brother just randomly joined the student events team, and one day in the office where they're talking about, oh, can we host a game show? I said, absolutely. What do you want to do? They're like, well, we kind of like the Price is Right. And it turns out they've been planning game shows for their family reunions for the past 5 years. And so this started with them, just with this idea, and now it's grown into a business for them. And been coming, I think this is the 7th year in a row they've done the Price is Right for Family Weekend. Another one that's just recent is the students had an idea to do a singing competition, but they did the Best Maverick singing competition. It really is connected with the student body and their friends. It's kind of something new, and they really enjoy it, and it's got a different flair to it. And then you can't talk about traditions without talking about Galactic Bingo. It's become something out of this world. But I think if you were to ask me the one thing that I'm most proud of is a event called the New Student Rally during Welcome Week. The student activities team and the Welcome Week team, it was probably around 2016, 2017, got some feedback from residential life that the students don't like the New Student Rally. It was on Sunday night before classes started. The message wasn't really coming home. They just showed up because they got a free t-shirt and then they left. And so we got that feedback and a group of us were like, all right, what do we do to do the real welcome for students here? And that turned into the New Student Rally. We worked with a whole bunch of different people to say, what is our message? What is our official welcome for students here? And it's really turned into something very special. Somewhat ceremonial, but really intentional to connect with students. The New Student Rally has become the official entry of students into the university. And we love that when the weather is appropriate, they get to walk through the arch to become a Maverick. And then hopefully they can walk out of the arch when they graduate with their degree. I think that's the one that I'm probably most proud of. As students change, the those traditions are going to change with them. When I started here, bingo was something students didn't want to go do. They didn't care for it. They saw it as something grandma and grandpa did, and as it became more prevalent and something that people really want to do, that came up. Now, in 10 years, that might change again, and we'll have to pivot and find good ways to engage with students. And so I think as they continue to change, we'll have to change with them. I think another good example of that is silent parties, silent discos have been around for 15 years, but the student generation didn't really connect with them until about 5 to 8 years ago. And so as that comes along, we just have to keep molding and changing with the student demographics and what they want and meet those needs for them. But then continuing to be innovative, make it memorable, and celebrate Pride. It was probably the first haunted house. There were so many things that went wrong. So many things that went wrong. The students who were planning it didn't do a walkthrough at night of the building to see which lights would turn off and which ones didn't. And we had 4 rooms that were fully lit. Learned some lessons. So, but everybody still had a great time. That's the one I think that comes to mind the most. And speaking of these traditions and things, I think one thing is that, Rome wasn't built in a day. We are here because there's been little improvements year after year after year after year. The haunted house didn't have a video that played beforehand. There wasn't an orientation that people got to go in where you can set the tone. There's been little tweaks year after year after year that have really brought things that were wonderful baseline ideas up to something that was amazing. And so it's been a progression. It was difficult, right? So here's a group of students, some staff members who were tasked with bringing people together. And then we're told you can't bring people together. So we had to find some innovative ways to do it. One of the things I think I pride the university on and the team on is 3 weeks after the university shut down in April, we had an online bingo rolling. We had online Kahoots. There were things that we were intentionally trying to help engage students during that process. I think the most difficult part of that wasn't necessarily pivoting to whatever guidelines we had to go to. The most difficult part was helping the students who had signed up to do these large gatherings understand that when people aren't getting together, we're still accomplishing a goal. It was really difficult on them. It was difficult on us. Living in a constant state of flux burned a lot of us out. So I think that was the most difficult part, was living in that status, but also encouraging the students who want to engage their peers, want to provide those opportunities to their peers. How do we keep their motivation up? How do we keep their anxiety down? Things of that nature. Making sure you have enough people to get it done. Staffing is usually the number one limitation to it. In any time you work in any kind of logistics, you either have time, money, and people. And if you don't have a lot of money, you need more time and more people. If you don't have a lot of people, you need more money and more time. And so balancing those 3 things out is important. Can we do this? Is it worth it? We can do it, but is it worth it? Is questions we're constantly asking us. We talked about Club Maverick or Galactic Bingo. Is it worth it to spend 6 hours setting up a huge lighting rig? Well, we've done it, we did it, and people are coming back because they think it's so cool. So yeah, it's worth it, right? Is it worth it to take the time and energy to set up a scrim on pipe and drape and get a projector and project a holographic ghost during the haunted house? Did it, tried it, and it didn't make that big of a difference, so we stopped doing it. I think that's how you kind of balance all of that. If you're going to start one thing, you may have to drop another because there's only so many time, people, and energy you can do. I think that is something that is definitely true pretty much in any setting, but even more true when you're talking about event logistics and operations, things of that nature. But I think obviously the first thing is social media has changed the landscape completely. The internet has changed the landscape completely. When I graduated from my first year as an undergraduate student doing planning events, the only way people found out about what was happening was a poster, a newspaper ad, a radio ad, or a telephone number that they would call and listen to a recorded voicemail of what's going on that week. That's how people found out what's going on. Now you have that plus 4 different mediums for social media, texting, apps, emails. The amount of work you need to put into to reach your audience is about tenfold compared to 20 years ago. And so, adapting to that is difficult. It's challenging and sometimes can be defeating when you try your best and people don't connect and don't show up to things that you're trying to do. It can be defeating at times, but know that you're doing your best. So we like to say we like to bring the stuff to them instead of having them come to us. I think it is really important. But with technology, what an event consisted of and what it does today, I think I can only really explain it in visual terms. So I have 2 examples here for you. This is the MabFest or Homecoming block party from 2011. This is the block party and MabFest from 2014 and 2015. That's what people expect. That's how the industry has changed. This technology didn't even exist 14 years ago. So the amount of effort needed to put in, the amount of staffing, the amount of resources, the amount of money needed to put into making something memorable is completely different. I've got another example here. This is Lip Sync from 2010. This is Lip Sync from 2021. What you need to put into it has changed extremely different. Examples are these lights were the standard in 2011. These lights that move, you could only get those at arena shows back in 2011. So LED walls didn't exist in 2011. So we've had to really adapt to a lot of those technical changes that have happened to make things memorable for people. As the technology's gotten smaller, cheaper, more affordable, we can start incorporating that into some of the things that we do and things of that nature. So, whether it's the advertising through social media or what it takes to create an event, has really changed. And how to make it memorable, I think, is the biggest thing, because that's what we're supposed to be doing, has really changed. Using smartphones for speed dating apps. We did that this last spring. It was amazing. Saved us a lot of time and effort, which is awesome. But also then we had to run into things of, oh wait, people don't charge their cell phones. So we had 4 people had their phone die. So just things of that nature that the technology is just completely different. And with technology, the way students want to engage with activities is completely different. When I started here, we showed a movie every week of the semester, and it would be packed. Post-COVID, you show a movie, no one cares. You show a movie where you can play bingo with the movie on your phone and win prizes, packs the house. So things have changed. Technology has changed how people interact in person, online, and digitally, and we've just had to really focus on that. I am now the Assistant Director for University Scheduling and Conference Services. So I'm going to work with the university scheduling staff that's here to help process reservations, make sure the event planning process goes working with our digital platforms to help the intake, execution, and post-event process for the entire university. That includes the student events, faculty-led events, community-led events, things of that nature. And that's kind of part one. But the other part is working with the university, working with external partners, working with the community to help grow and create a robust camp life at the university for internal and external clients. We have an amazingly beautiful campus. And shout out to the grounds crew, they do a wonderful job. But there's not a lot of people here sometimes in the summer. So how can we take our great, wonderful facilities, our great services, our wonderful faculty and staff, and help engage them in opportunities for not only youth, but adult learners. Working with those who might be retired and want to come back and do a photography camp and stay in the residence halls they were in when they went here. So working with the campus community to recruit those, market those, and make sure that when they do come here, utilizing spaces that are underutilized, that it's a seamless and enjoyable process. Yeah, it was a tough decision. I got into this role to be an educator, as I stated, working with students, and I don't have as much of that anymore. But I do get to work with some amazing full-time staff and helping them learn and grow, helping the front desk staff. So I still have that, but it's not as much. I think the nice thing, which I'm most excited for, is a lot of the work. My previous position, I worked with students to help them create a robust, vibrant, engaging opportunities for the student body. That was my job. I was there to help them achieve their goal. In my current new role, I get to do that with the community. I get to do that maybe with some faculty staff and maybe some RSOs. So I'm doing many of the same things, but it's just a little bit different lens, different view. And that is really exciting to me. Example is today, working with the Eid celebration for the Muslim community in Mankato. It's hosted here. How do we help them have a wonderful celebration that they take memories from? So it's kind of shifting gears and helping more. And so the decision wasn't easy, but it's come with some benefits. It's definitely a different schedule, which is kind of nice for my family. I'm gonna get to spend more time with my family and with my kids. Not so many late nights, which is good. I am almost 40, so it's kind of a young person's gig. More camping, more opportunities to take advantage of the Minnesota summer. We would start mid-August and be really, really busy, and then through October, and I think that's changed. But we'll also be working on summer camps in the summer too. So. It's kind of meeting the needs. My family, we're turning into chauffeurs. Kids are doing different activities, and we're moving around more than anything else. I think it does that, but ultimately I've been doing both things, and it's going to be better for my sleep. But also, it's going to provide more opportunities. As I said before, I'm a drummer. I still am a drummer locally in a couple different tribute bands for ABBA, Elton John, and Jimmy Buffett, and more to come. I'm going to be able to put some more effort into that, and that's my hobby. So a little bit more hobby time for me, so I can spend time with family and we focus on that hobby a little bit and do some more vacations, connect with the community more, things of that nature. I think, honestly, I think the big thing, as I talked about, is some of the lessons I've learned is whether they're an undergraduate student or a community member or a faculty member, knowing where their passion is and when they're passionate about it and helping them be successful, and knowing where they're at is important. Understanding that context when someone's coming in and planning a wedding, or someone's coming in to start a Juneteenth program. Knowing that sometimes you have to help them know what they don't know. And it's having that mindset too, when working with students, that, in this office, we're going to be answering the same question 1,000 times a year because they don't know. And that's okay. And being okay answering that question 1,000 times that's just part of the role. and getting used to that, knowing that this is the first time they've had that question. It might be, but it's the 2000th time we've answered it. Now there can be a lot about education, training, resources to help prevent some of that, which we'll be working on. I think that's important. The other thing, actually not for my previous role, one of the things I think is going to be nice is when working on developing summer camps for youth and as well as adult learners is I am the parent of a camper. I have parents who are looking for adult learning opportunities. So I'm in a nice spot in my life to have some insight, not only from a user standpoint to also being someone who's at the university, understands logistics and things of that nature, kind of in a good wheelhouse to help grow those and look at what are other opportunities to get more people on campus during low utilization periods. Even though I'm here, I can help guide you, but it's your team, you own it, you run it, you do it. Do it the way you want to. My body is gonna not miss hammering truss together and lifting heavy things. My mind is gonna not miss working till 1 a.m. and then getting up at 5 because my kids are waking up. I'm gonna miss absolutely working with the students. It's an amazing thing. I'm gonna miss the look on the students' faces when they walk through and go, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. I'm gonna miss the look on the students' programmers' faces when they see it come together. When they get to see it come together and be like, this was really cool. And they say, yeah, this is really cool. I'm gonna miss that. But I'm gonna look forward to work. I'm really looking forward to working with community members and engaging them in the Maverick way, and engaging them in that. I'm really looking forward to that. Someone who lived and breathed the Maverick ideal, innovation, big ideas, forward thinking, inspired action. Someone who valued students, valued their experience. Someone who valued equity and inclusion. Someone who looked to engage those who maybe were feeling left out. Someone who did things the right way the first time. I think that's hoping what they'll take away from my time in student activities. This is what I'm going to miss. This, working with folks, seeing those smiles on people's faces. Those are the things I'm going to miss. Now I get to work with community on that, helping them grow, become adults. Those are the things I'm going to miss. And some pretty darn cool things too. I'm gonna miss these screams from the people in the crowd and just seeing how much fun they're having. That's Foreplay, who's from Mankato. They miss that. They're just having a blast. I'm gonna miss working with the performers. In this role, you get to know them on a different level and working with them and hanging out with them. I've got a lot of friends in town who are in the event world and that. But here's the other thing I'm not gonna miss. This is 18 hours in 60 seconds. I'm gonna miss it, don't get me wrong. I love this part. This is why, but the 18 hours piece. After a couple of years, I may have to come volunteer and help out and get that juice back a little bit. This was Chris Lane. So that was 18 hours in 60 seconds. Maybe it was like 90 seconds, but yeah. And yes, we take about 12 hours to set up, and it takes about 90 minutes to tear down. But there's that.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.